And today's speaker, Dr. John Cox, is going first. He is a career and public school educator. Dr. Cox is beginning his 21st year as a public school superintendent at Peggs Public School. He serves as president of the Organization of Rural Elementary Schools and chairman of the Board of Trustees for the Oklahoma School Assurance Group, which comprises of 496 member school districts across the state. If you will please join me in welcoming Mr. Dr. John Cox.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. I am so proud to be here today and represent our public schools. And of course, I'm Dr. John Cox, and this is my 21st year of being a public school superintendent, 29th year in public education, and I currently am a adjunct professor at Northeastern State University, where I teach the courses that that are required to take to be a school superintendent. So I'm really proud to be playing a part in public schools and in part of other people's lives. And I think that's why I'm running, is that I just want to make a difference. I want to make a difference in your life. So I'm so proud that we have a great crowd here today, because that tells me one thing. That tells me that you care about public education and how we can improve it, and more specifically, what we can do for our children. So I'm absolutely honored to be here today. Most of you have my brochure that's next to your glass. And on it, I talk about 4 areas that I'm passionate about. And the first area is actually looking at a student as an individual instead of a test score. And I just think we've really gotten far away from our mission as public schools, in that we're so test happy now, we forgot that there's individuals out there that we need to take care of, and that we need to love and nourish, and then we can instruct. And so I'm out there really working hard to look at our students as individuals, and that's all the way from the high-stakes testing of the 3rd grade retention plan that we just tried to do, where we actually took local control, took the power away from our parents and our teacher in the classroom to make the decision on retention. And so all these tests have gotten in the way. This year we had around 8,000 students who didn't pass the reading test. And at first look at that, you go, wow, that's not very good. But the thing is we don't really know why they didn't pass the test. Because as educators, we know that 49% of that reading test was language arts. So you could actually be a fluent reader and fail the reading test and be labeled a non-reader. And so we look at that number, and then we reduce it down to the special needs kids that are required to take that test. Around 4,000 special needs children took the test. And in my view, as a public school person, as a superintendent that looks, we have 26% special needs in my school. So I see that those tests are inappropriate for my special needs children. They shouldn't be taking those tests, because they already have a plan, an individual education plan that drives their curriculum. They're assessed all year long, and so we actually already have valid assessments for that population. And so that's an area that I'm passionate about, is actually taking testing away from them and allowing the IEP to drive their curriculum. And I had a dad come up to me at a restaurant, and he had a 4th grade son, and he said, "Why is the school forcing my child to take the test when they know that he's going to fail it? Why are they doing that to him?" And I thought, that's the perfect question, because why are we doing that? So I'm really going to take this opportunity, because as you know, as of today, we don't have a testing company for this year. We have not hired a testing company. So I'm taking the position that let's take a step back and look and see if these tests really mean what they're supposed to measure. Are they measuring what they're supposed to measure? Just like I talked about the 3rd grade reading test not measuring what it's supposed to measure. The 5th and 8th grade writing test that were taken away from us this year actually grades reading comprehension. And I say that because you could be a great writer, but if you didn't get the prompt right, you failed the test. And so we're spending millions of dollars on testing that I don't have confidence in as a school superintendent. And I think now parents and business people are not having confidence in the tests that we give. So I always look for opportunity in everything that happens. So in this, with no testing company, I would love to have a moratorium for one spring so teachers could teach in the spring till the last day of the school. And I would say in my own school district in January, we put the books away. We start test prepping so that we can pass that one test in April. And I have to tell you, that's wrong. That is wrong leadership to do that, because actually we should be teaching our students to get them ready for the next level, for the next year, and really work that way. So what we've done is the second part of my plan is honoring and valuing our teachers. We have actually taken the creativity away from our teachers to teach our classroom. They cannot teach in the spring anymore. So I'm going to be really positive about getting out there and saying, let's give the classroom back to the teacher and allow them to teach till the last day of school. And let's do away with the tests that I call nonsense tests that aren't proven, that do not help improve instruction. Let's eliminate them and really look at a valuable system that we can have for accountability. So honoring and valuing our teachers are so important. And I know we have teachers in the audience today, but we need to go back to where we put them back up on a pedestal, where we actually revere our teachers. And you know, and as I cross the state and talk to our retired teachers, every once in a while I'll have one of mine in there. And just a couple of weeks ago I had my third grade teacher in there. And so as a student, and you know, as you go around your former teachers, you revert back to that child that you were in that classroom. And that's what I do. And that's because we respected them. That is a respect. And so as state superintendent, I want to promote that respect. There's two ends to this. We have a teacher shortage right now, and it's because we have really great veteran teachers that just can't handle. They just don't see the purpose of all the paperwork that we're doing right now and all the excessive testing, and they can't teach. So they don't love it anymore. They want to teach children, but they don't love it. And then on the other end, we're trying to entice young people to come into the teaching profession. But I can tell you, as an educator and talking to thousands of people across the state, that as educators, we don't talk our own children into going into education because we see how difficult it is to teach children. We have to change that environment. And I say we because it's really up to you to help me do that. We have to go out and promote public education. That's why I'm running for state superintendent. This has nothing to do with John Cox being state superintendent. This has to do with you having a voice again and you taking care of our children again. So I just think this is so powerful. This is such a great time in history where we're going to make a difference. The great thing that has happened out of the last 3.5 years with our current leadership is that we have put total focus on public education now. That is the great thing. And so let's take advantage of it. Let's take advantage of every opportunity we have to get out and speak about the great things that we're doing in public ed. We always have to improve on everything that we do in our personal life and professional. But let's go out and say the great things that we're doing for public education. The third thing, and I already said something about it, is local control. You and your communities know what's best for your school. And so that's why I really want to do away with the end of instruction test in high school. And the reason I do is because business people all across the state, and I would say in this room also, that you're telling me that it's actually getting in the way of workforce development, actually giving a student a skill when they leave high school. Right now, because we have end of instruction tests, when a student graduates high school, they walk across the stage and they have a diploma in their hand and they go, what do I do now? Do I follow my friend to college? Do I go into work? And what I would love to do for that 75% of the students who aren't going to finish college or have no interest in it, have other interests, is really promote them, give them a skill when they leave high school so that they can make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 right out of high school. That'll do two things for us. That will help with dropout rates because we'll put meaning back to high school. If a student loves auto mechanics, they love working with cars, why not make them the best auto mechanic that they can be? Because everyone in here knows you have to find a good auto mechanic for the rest of our lives. You have to have those people. And there's a shortage of those people. Plumbers, electricians, there's a shortage of those too. So why not promote their interest? Why not use public school, what it's for, to give opportunity for a child or a student to actually become who they want to be and live a great life? That's what public school is about. And of course, my fourth initiative on the card is workforce development. Actually giving local control and flexibility back in the high schools again to train students to go in the area that they love. And there's so many, and just out here, there's so many different businesses, so many different areas of work, thousands of different jobs that we can give students opportunity. And I tell you, I made a mistake as a dad with my 5 children because there was a time where I believed that everybody should go to college. Every single person should go to college because that's how you be successful. That's what I believed because that's how I made it out. And so But what I found out from raising 5 children is that they're all different. And I think you all see that too in families and your families. Every child is different. They have different interests. So I wish as a father, while they were growing up, that I would have looked at their individual interests and promoted that. Because I have 2 college graduates, I have 2 that need skills, and I have 1 that's working on a degree. So they're just vastly different. And I see that across the board, across the state with our children. So those 4 areas, really looking back at treating a student as an individual, and then honoring and valuing our teachers, local control, and then workforce development. If we can do that, we're going to improve schools again. We're going to put the love of learning and the love of teaching back in our school system, and we're going to really make a difference. I am here today to say that I need you. And not only do I need you to get me elected and put me in that office, but I need you afterwards to help formulate and develop that plan and continue developing it and giving input so that we can help children. Bottom line, we're in it for children, and that's why you're here today. That's why this education meeting is so important, because you're here because you want to make a difference in somebody's life. So I'm asking you, help me make a difference in others' lives. It's not on the card that I gave you, but some of you have my business card. But if you go to elect Dr. John Cox, that's my Facebook. We're traveling all over trying to get this message out. And then drjohncox.com, I have a lot of my platform there that you can read, and you can see what we're doing. But, I see such a great opportunity out of everything that we've been beaten up for. I see that we can do great things for kids. And so please join me in that. I think I probably have about 5 minutes left. So if you have any random questions, I'd love to answer a question or 2. Questions? No questions at all. All right, well, I'll just tell you. I'll tell you that I'm going to work extremely hard for you. And my experience as being a public school superintendent and the years that I put into it for children will make a difference for you. And that my door will always be open. I have a shared leadership style, which is actually polar opposite of what we have right now. And so I have a shared leadership style. That's how I've been able to stay in the same community for 20 years. And so I really think it is about how you deal with people, how you can make a difference. So I'll ask you one more time. I'd love to have your vote, your support, and most of all, let's do something for public education. So thank you so much for having me here today, and I'll be out there fighting for you. Thank you.
And last, but certainly not least, Joy Hoffmeister, a former public school teacher and businesswoman. She has devoted her life to teaching students and promoting higher student achievement. Joy was appointed to the Oklahoma State Board of Education by Governor Mary Fallin in January 2012, where she served through 2 legislative sessions. So please help me in welcoming Ms. Joy Hoffmeister.
Thank you so much. It is really a pleasure to be back in Woodward. I am coming to you today as a mother, also a wife for 30 years, and a mother of 4 grown children. I graduated and started teaching in Texas while my husband was in seminary at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. And during that time, I taught first grade. Later, we moved to Tulsa as soon as he had graduated, and we had our 4 kids in 6 years, so we kind of had our own little classroom going on. And at that time, my husband was in law school and later became a judge, where he's been on the bench for about 13 years. And really, we've been very neutral and quiet. We're not allowed to be a part of politics because of his position. So it was certainly came as a surprise that the governor would end up appointing me to the State Board of Education. And part of that came from the next phase in my life after my students, my own little kiddos, went to school. We had 4 in elementary school. And I got ready to go back into the classroom again. And a business opportunity just landed in my lap. And it's called Kumon Math and Reading. It is based in 47 countries. And it really did changed the direction of my career. And I was able to actually be trained outside the U.S. and gave me a really different perspective as well. And we got real involved in Jenks Public Schools, where our kids all graduated, K through 12, and began to appreciate that, boy, in the suburbs, we also have really unique challenges. The elementary school that my students attended and had 67% free and reduced lunch. Many people don't appreciate that, and they just think, oh, well, this is a different kind of school. But our challenges are all around us in Oklahoma, no matter where our children go to school. And so I got involved with the Public School Foundation and began helping people understand the 34 languages, and I know you all have us beat on that with English language population right there in the heart of the Tulsa area. And we have new challenges that many in business don't appreciate, that our teachers face and that our school leaders must accommodate and find the solutions for each child and each situation. So during the time, for 15 years, I worked then with students, over 4,000 of them, in both public and private and homeschool, online schools, rural, urban, and suburban schools. And the common factor there was parents. We worked with parents in parent partnerships to build a deep foundation, and it was through the appreciation that, you know what, math is a universal language, just like music. And really recognizing the power of what happens when we take that time to get a deep foundation and have that automaticity with basic math, so that you are beginning to think in that language, just like when you're a piano student and you no longer need to look at your fingers on the keys. And you can put any piece of sheet music in front of that student, and they can play and later create and compose. And I began to appreciate that, my goodness, we are missing that rich opportunity to have that kind of foundation and the ability to work early with our parents to teach their children to read. And so the question was, why? And really the answer was, we don't have time anymore. We don't have time to focus on that rich instruction because so much of that well-rounded education is pushed to the periphery because of the tests. And as I began to work with so many of my staff members, I have a staff of 40 and 750 students at any one time, and realized that my teachers want to be able to teach. And that there is two kinds of factors in a job. There's job satisfaction and job compensation. And in Oklahoma, both are low. And we need to solve that. We are losing teachers out of our fine teaching colleges to other states, and we are losing teachers to other industries. And we are really in a crisis. We must be able to give the respect to our profession so that we can continue to attract and retain top talent. But we have a lot of work to do. So it was through that time then that I was appointed to the State Board of Education. I got on that board and I realized that, my word, I was the only one with a background in education. And there were 6 of us plus the current state superintendent, Janet Barisi. And I just asked a lot of questions. And I wasn't willing to be a rubber stamp. I felt incumbent upon me, as I shouldered responsibility of voting for statewide initiatives, rules that would affect all 678,000 students, every teacher in public school and every parent of a public school child, and every private school that's accredited by our state. We had a responsibility, and I wanted to thoughtfully deliberate and understand that we can't have a one-size-fits-all program, and that we have to work with rural, urban, and suburban schools as individually as possible, because like Ronald Reagan used to say, those closest to the problem have the best hope of solving it. And for me, that means those closest to the student know them best and have the best hope of serving them in the most efficient and effective way. So there's a lot we need to do. And as I began to watch the dysfunction that continued to occur at the State Department, I realized that I could continue to be the lone no vote or the lone yes, or maybe bring another of my board member colleagues with me, but we really weren't going to be able to do what needed to be done unless I was sitting in a different chair as chairman of the state board, as state superintendent. And it was through prayerful consideration that I took that step forward. And I knew that this was going to have to be one that was accomplished with a real coalition of parents, of teachers, of school leaders, and of our legislators. In fact, Gus Blackwell is right here, is one of our original members of the steering committee and legislative leadership committee for our early campaign, and I am so grateful for that early work together. But now I realize that we have things that we have to face, and I'll just be, I'm not going to bury my head in the sand about what's happening in Oklahoma. We have very good things happening, but it's not happening for all of our kids. We don't all have Woodward with the kind of community and leadership that is here, with your 3,000 students in Woodward Public Schools, and the kind of community and assembly that we have here today with our business community as partners and our parents engaged. And so for our students, I recognize that our graduation rate is still too low, and we need to work harder, and we need to work more effectively and to accomplish that. And it's not one simple reason that isn't where we're keeping up, but we need to improve that. And we do still have a remediation rate that continues to get higher, and there's reasons for that. Part of that is we're encouraging more kids to go to college, and there needs to be a bridge where we're bringing adults that have remediation needs as well. So the final thing then is that our students have aspirations, and as a mother I recognize, as you do too, that they have strengths, needs, hopes, and dreams. And we must make certain that they have the skills to be able to achieve what they aspire. My vision is for our students to have preparation for their next steps in learning, whether that be college or career technology or the workforce or the military. But in order to do that, we have to have a leader who can work effectively with our legislators. We do need to have high standards, but then government needs to get out of the way and let teachers teach. We are interfering with over-testing, with over-regulation. We need assessments so that we know how to adjust instruction for our students, but they need to be timely with the results. They need to have diagnostic and comparable capabilities, but tests should be tools. We need less time on testing and more time on instruction. And we do need accountability. Schools are government, using taxpayer money. We need to understand how our schools are doing, how we can support our schools, and what we can celebrate and continue to build upon. So in that regard, the A to F grading system is, I must say, is broken. And it's time, finally, that we work with our research scientists at OU and OSU to get it right. Our students deserve that, and our teachers have become demoralized because of a label. Let's act on evidence, not anecdote, not perception. But let's talk about what we know, and that must be based in evidence. And then we move forward. But we make certain that we are committed to investing in a strong, vibrant public education system for all students, because it is in public school that we have the ability to really make a difference with our students, understanding that there is certainly every parent is the key, and it is their ultimate responsibility to educate their kids. But my goal is to make that school around the corner a top choice, so that our families have a vibrant system that they are paying for that is going to meet the needs of their students. And then that leads to the fourth part, resources. And this is where, I put on my business hat, and just like many of you, we recognize human capital is key. And again, we've got to attract and retain that top talent. but we also need to make sure that dollars are going into the classroom so that it actually affects student learning. Too often we're seeing it kind of stay. We're growing bureaucracy because of overregulation. So I'm ready to work with legislators, roll up my sleeves, broaden that coalition, bring stakeholders together so that we are working in partnership with career technology, higher education, our parents, our experts in the classroom, our teachers, our resources in each community, which includes our business community, our community leaders, and let's partner together so that we have a plan. We are never going to do more than just complaining until we have a plan that we're all a part of and are able to provide an 8-year, multi-year plan to actually do it right, make the kinds of changes that need to be made, and quit building the highway 3 miles at a time, because that's what I've seen. And we cannot continue to go on like this or we risk collapse. So it's a tipping point that we've reached, I believe, and the stakes are high and our kids are counting on us to get it right. I am excited about the opportunity to join together and continue to move forward, not look back at where we've been, but moving forward, recognizing that in 2013, the top 10 jobs didn't exist in 2004. We have to be on that continuous improvement model where we are continuing to meet the needs of our students. And I believe we will be able to do it if we will put politics aside and students first. I appreciate the chance to be here today and the opportunity. I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to continue what I worked on at the state level. I do think experience matters. And I will tell you that I believe we need a leader who has statewide experience working with our legislators, with our teachers, with our community groups, and in education to be able to actually move forward with that plan and accomplish it for our kids. My opponent is a wonderful public servant, and I appreciate that about Dr. Cox. And we know through research that that kind of longevity in one place actually increases academic performance, and that is to be commended. But it is not only about having superintendent experience. It is about that broader view, and it is key that we move forward with that kind of coalition. And I believe we can do it together if we will come together. But I think asking good questions is important, and I hope that you will ask those questions if there's any time left. I'm happy to answer anything you've got. Yes, sir.
Do you support the third grade reading test?
Well, as a reading teacher, one test on one day should not determine a child's future, ever. I do support the bill that was passed by the two legislators on my steering committee, Katie Hinkey and Stanislawski, who said we need to bring together parents with reading specialists, the child's own teacher, a fourth grade teacher, and the principal, and make a decision based on a body of information instead of one test. And I'll continue to support and advocate, and already have. Great question. All right. Well, thank you. I'm asking for your vote November 4th, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for what you are doing in the lives of children. I believe they are our state's most precious resource. Thank you.